A Wylie teenager could serve up to 15 years for killing his friend following a Collin County judge's sentence. Many of you are going to remember this case. The boy shot and killed his 15-year-old friend, Nahum Martinez, last year, and then eventually tried to stuff his friend's body down a storm drain. Fox 4's Natalie Solis was in court for the sentencing today. Natalie, the killer, got 15 years but may not end up serving that long, right?
Yeah, Steve, that's exactly right. As a matter of fact, he may end up serving significantly less, and I'll explain more on that in just a moment. But before this judge handed down the sentence, she said there were two things that she had to consider. The first one, the safety of the community, and the second, the rehabilitation of this teen. She then went on to say that the teen wholly lacks empathy, and that if this were an adult being considered, he'd be called depraved.
I would have wanted more, but I have to settle for it.
Nahum Martinez's mom, Teresa, choking back tears, reacting to the judge's sentence. Nahum, accomplished in cross country at Wylie East, snuck out one night in March of last year for a sleepover at the defendant's house in Wylie, along with another teen. According to testimony, the boy smoked marijuana, and the defendant, who was fascinated by guns, produced one he'd stolen, pointing it at Martinez, who repeatedly asked him to stop. Defense attorneys say their client was from a broken home, a teen mom who couldn't care for him, so he landed with extended family. That night, according to the defense, was boys playing with guns.
He is just a young boy, and he was just looking for friends. He had friends and was just not thinking like a adult would, and he put himself in a bad position.
Teresa Martinez testified her son had befriended the teen when others wouldn't, making it even harder to understand what happened after the shooting. The defendant and the other boy said they rolled the body in a comforter, tossed it from a second-story window, then tried to stuff it in a storm drain. The prosecutor pointed out after they went home and fell asleep, noting it was a stranger who called 911.
The actions that occurred after the shooting, yeah, that is something that concerns me and everybody else about what happened, what he did to his friend. Instead of calling 911 or getting emergency help to try to cover up what had happened, yeah, that concerned all.
Even a social worker testified the defendant carried the gun to school for several weeks and was a danger to the community. Teresa Martinez says she's tried to forgive the teen who killed her son, but can't.
I think you should no longer have that ability to be considered a child after you commit a crime to the extent that he did. I say that we're happy that he did receive something, but it still doesn't bring my son back. Pain doesn't go away.
Well, the 16-year-old was sentenced to 15 years, but when he turns 19, he will be reevaluated. At that time, he could be discharged from juvenile detention and finish the rest of his sentence on probation, or they could decide to transfer him to an adult prison, and he would finish out the rest of his sentence there. So a lot will hinge on that reevaluation in the next 3 years. Steve?
Yeah, and Natalie, it strikes me this kid just turned 16. He kind of hasn't learned the system because it's so crucial. He's got to show some remorse, and apparently didn't show any today, and that's why the judge was pretty hard on him.
Exactly, and the judge pointed out that exactly as she was speaking before she handed down the sentence, and she said, in her words, accepting a plea deal and pleading guilty to a manslaughter charge is not the same thing in her book as accepting responsibility for what happened. And so I think she wanted to see more from this teen, and it just wasn't there. Steve?
Something that's got to happen before all is said and done. All right, Natalie Solis, live at the Collin County Courthouse. Thank you.